Believe it or not, this is actually my first OLED TV. I know that might be shocking, especially from somebody that loves technology. Now, I do want to preface this video by saying that LG did send this out for us to try out and also experience it. And I'm going to tell you, it's a pretty dope TV. This is the 65-inch LG GX model OLED TV. Now, if you're not familiar with what OLED is, I will touch on that a little bit later, but Connor and I found some really cool key features that I think you guys are going to really like. I'm gonna go ahead and kick things off with my favorite feature, which is called Filmmaker Mode. So what is Filmmaker Mode? Filmmaker Mode is a process where the values of the TV are being modified to provide the original viewing experience the way the director intended it to be. The biggest problem right now when you're looking to buy a new television is that the image is typically overly saturated, very vibrant, super high contrast, and yeah, it may look good when you're looking at the television. The problem is that's not the way the director intended his movie to be watched, and that's kind of the problem that we have as a creator. Whenever we make a new video, we color grade using a calibrated monitor, and I don't know what you're going to use to view my video, so it may be overly saturated, it may be desaturated, or I may just look like a carrot. And that's what Filmmaker Mode prevents by emulating the true colors and contrast of the actual film.
Filmmaker Mode is a mode in which we can ensure that the original intent of the filmmaker, the technical aspects of the film, and the way in which we finished the film in the edit suite and the color timing room gets to the viewer the way that we intended. Modern televisions have all kinds of incredible possibilities in terms of their technical capabilities, but that also means that we need to be sure that the original intent of the filmmaker is carried through to the presentation in the home. And Filmmaker Mode is a way of doing that.
So Filmmaker Mode for me is probably my favorite feature on this television. Now, if you're into gaming, there's actually something really cool that I think you guys might be interested in. Now, I'm not a hardcore gamer, but I did invite Connor to try it out and kind of give his experience gaming on the LG OLED TV.
Hey, howdy guys, Connor McCaskill here, and as Armando said, he invited me to talk to you guys about why this TV is so innovative for the gaming community. In order to do that, I need to talk about two big problems that are plaguing gaming on a big television, and that is input lag and refresh rate. So let me go ahead and kick this off with what input lag is. What input lag is essentially the moment that I give an action or a command to a controller, say pressing the A button, to the moment that it is displayed on the screen, say with a character jumping. Now, traditionally on large TVs, input lag is actually pretty bad. And I really didn't believe Armando when he said that this OLED TV made it way better. It's like, yeah, it's usually not that great. It's just something we deal with as console players. So the best way that we thought that we could demo this was by playing Cuphead, because it's all about precision and timing. So when we sat down, I immediately noticed a massive difference with input lag. I pressed the button, the character jumped immediately. Now this is kind of something that you just feel while you're holding the controller and playing the game. It's really hard to visually demonstrate it for you guys. So what we've done is we shot a scene of us pressing the A button and our character Cuphead jumping in 120 frames per second. So that way you guys can see how many frames it takes from the moment of an input on the controller to the character jumping on the screen. Now, the other issue that I mentioned was refresh rate. Now, refresh rate is essentially how many frames per second a monitor or TV can display in a second. So with video games, traditionally you're going for 30, 60, or 120 frames per second. And a lot of modern TVs are able to now keep up with that. For instance, this TV is able to produce 120 hertz, which is 120 frames per second. That's not really where the problem lies. The problem is that games don't use a fixed frame rate, like traditional media as movies and television, which is 24 frames per second and 30 frames per second respectively. Video games use what is called a variable refresh rate. Now, the reason that video games use variable refresh rate is because the game is more or less demanding at particular points. So let's say a game is at 30 frames per second, but then there's this big explosion and the game can't quite output that 30 frames per second. Can't quite keep up, so it might be at 27 frames per second, 28 frames per second, somewhere in that realm, basically a few frames less. And the problem lies when a TV has a fixed frame rate at 30 frames per second, the console's outputting less frames than the monitor is trying to display, and you get what is called tearing or maybe even some lagging. So what's really cool is that this TV now has what's called FreeSync, which basically means the TV communicates directly with the console to be able to output the exact same amount of frames that the console is outputting at any given moment. So if the console, like the Xbox One, is outputting 28 frames per second, so is the monitor, completely eliminating tearing and lag. But it actually doesn't stop there. So LG has actually partnered with NVIDIA to produce the first NVIDIA certified OLED G-Sync televisions. And basically what that means is that this TV isn't only amazing for console players, us console plebs, but this is also amazing for the PC master race.
Peasants, I bring news! Join me in PC gaming and ascend to godhood!
So basically what this means is that if you have an NVIDIA GeForce GPU in your PC, it is compatible with this television through G-Sync, giving you 4K at 120 Hertz with that variable refresh rate, which is kind of unbelievable. This basically means that you can have the ultimate OLED PC setup. You no longer have to have small gaming monitors to get the best performance for your games.
So as I mentioned earlier, this is the first OLED TV that I've ever owned, and comparing it to an LCD panel, there's a massive difference. Where you can really tell, of course, is the black levels, and that's because traditionally on an LCD panel, even when you're watching something and there's a area where it's all black, the LEDs are still being lit, even if it's at 1%, so you get that light bleed. On an OLED panel, every individual pixel can be turned on and off. So when there's something that's black, it's actually true black. I mean, the pixel is completely off, which of course looks phenomenal. So I know OLED is a new technology, but I can tell you after owning this for a while now, it's really hard to go back to LCD. It just looks so good. I do want to thank LG for sending this out and allowing us to try it out and experience it for ourselves. My name is Armando. Thanks again for watching. You guys will catch me in the next one. Adios.